I was born in Albany, Oregon, but I never really lived there because before I was born, my family lived in the middle of nowhere, in small dumpy places in eastern Oregon, which were rarely on any maps, where my dad, my older sister, and my mom, who was pregnant with me, lived in logging camps. The closest hospital was in Prairie City, Oregon, with only one doctor who gave care. My mom beforehand visited that hospital and saw that the delivery room was very, very bare. That situation freaked her out so much, she decided to flee, and she went to stay with her mother until my delivery day in the town of Albany. So my mom, along with my sister, left Eastern Oregon the 1st of May for what was supposed to be shortly thereafter my awaited delivery day. But my mom concluded that the doctor in Prairie City must have been a loon, because it was nearly 2 more months before she delivered me on the 27th of June. As soon as my mom was able, she, my sister, and I left Albany and went back to Eastern Oregon, where my home for the next 3 years would therefore be, and to where my dad was working as what was known as a Jippo logger, where day and night he struggled so hard, and in retrospect, I would describe him as a slogger. There are things I remember, for instance, the big black bear that walked through our housing camp one day and gave us all a scare, and the new mother dog who bit me right underneath my left eye because I petted her newborn puppies, and even today around dogs I'm kind of shy. I also remember that the 4 of us lived in a small 1-room log cabin. My sister and I slept on the top bunk bed, my parents below us. But can you fathom what that was like to be a young married couple who went nightly to their bed with 2 young giggling girls above them in the bunk beds overhead? We stayed in the logging camps during the months when the weather was warm and sunny, but in the wintertime when it got 40 degrees below zero, my dad could no longer make any logging money. So we would leave the snow-laden fields of the mountainous logging camp, and for that reason, we all moved to John Day, Oregon, and lived in a small apartment for the winter season. That's when my dad would look for work in John Day, and sometimes he would become quite frantic. But he was very skilled with his fingers and hands, and usually found work as a mechanic, fixing automobiles that would pass through John Day, and the cars would go on the fritz. But that was okay, because it gave my dad plenty of money, and then my family thought they were living on the Ritz. I remember other things about living in John Day, like the priest who befriended my parents and taught them the Catholic way. And eventually my sister and I were baptized by him, a man to me who seemed so old. And when he poured water over my forehead the day I was baptized, I remember saying, "Oh, that water is cold." We would visit that priest who maintained his residence in John Day. His mother lived there with him and kept the house clean during his intermittent stays. I remember crying loudly when my mom and I entered through the front door, because the vacuum cleaner would be going sometimes, and it created such a roar. Our family moved back and forth between the logging camps and John Day until I was around age 3, and my mother finally said to my dad, "Listen, Henry, I can't live this way anymore, so the girls and I are going to go back to the rain, to somewhere in Western Oregon where our life hopefully will become more sane." So one of the reasons I tell you this story is because, amazingly, something weird overcame me a while ago when I went back and rolled around downtown Albany. I walked the streets and saw the restaurants where my parents first met, and the strangest feeling overcame me, like I was reliving their first meeting event. So that is my tale I bring here tonight to this theater called No Shame, where we come and express thoughts and feelings, where there isn't any blame about the twists and turns of life we all experience and share, like being born in Albany, Oregon, but really never living there.